This is Russell Brunson, and his amazing book contains the actual playbook and strategies he uses to transform both his businesses and those of his clients. He is famous for being the funnel guy, and I'll share with you his overall sales funnel strategy that he has used to bring his company to $160 million in revenue. But not only that. In this channel, we don't just stick to the basics. We want to understand the details. So we'll explore how Brunson structures and communicates offers and upsells at various price levels and for different types of customers. Basically, you're about to watch an intensive course about sales funnels and how successful businesses guide customers towards more premium products and services to grow exponentially. Let's start by explaining the difference between a funnel and a standard website. A website is like a brochure where the user has many choices and you don't guide them at all. Usually, the more choices there are, the more confused the customer is. And the more confused they are, the less they buy. A funnel, on the other hand, is a sequence of well-defined pages, where each page has a single clear purpose, like collecting an email contact, for example, or selling something. A user on that page has two choices. Either do what the page is designed to make them do, or leave. There are no alternatives or middle ground. So here, you have much more control over the customer's journey and how to guide them towards a purchase. By definition, a funnel is wider at the beginning and narrower at the end. This means that many will enter your funnels, but only a percentage of these will buy, and an even smaller percentage will purchase all the upsells you offer. And this is normal. Those who buy a lot are your ideal customers, and the more clearly you have defined who your ideal customers are, the easier it will be for you to attract them with your promotions and convert them into customers. Brunson has studied and tested a specific sequence of pages for each type of customer and service, which we will look at in detail later. But first, I want to show you the overall strategy, the visual map of what a company should aim to create in terms of how to structure their offer. What you are seeing now is called the value ladder. It's essentially the map of your business. At the bottom, you have free or low-cost products and resources, and as you move up, you have more expensive products or services that offer more and more value to the customer. At each step of this ladder, the sales strategy is not always the same. There are specific funnels and precise sales methods that need to be implemented, which Brunson uses in his businesses and has codified for us. Now, all of this might seem very clear and almost obvious to many in theory. But in practice, it's not so straightforward, and most importantly, most businesses don't apply it. For example, a chiropractor usually has a business where they simply perform physical treatments. They have a single offer. At most, they might also sell some supplements, but not much else. This would be the value ladder of this business. As you can see, it's very incomplete. I assure you, there are many businesses like this. With a bit of creativity, this value ladder could be completed. Brunson explains how he helped a specific chiropractor restructure his value ladder, as you see, and it was a great success. Another issue many businesses face is the solvency of their customer acquisition campaigns. They're always breaking even or operating at a loss, so they can never increase their advertising spend to scale the company. Does that sound familiar? To me, it does. I've often had this problem, unfortunately. Here too, funnels can help. Brunson talks about how one of his early businesses was selling a DVD online with instructions for making potato guns. He had a paid promotion on Google, which brought people to a sales page, and he sold his product with a profit of $27 per day. That was already a good result. But then Google raised its prices and his campaign was losing $13 per day, and he was about to shut it down. That's when he first discovered the power of upsells. To those who wanted to buy his DVD, he also offered a kit with all the materials to build the potato guns, something the customer would have had to buy in a store. So, he was actually providing an additional valuable service to the customer, saving them time. The upsell cost $197. 1 in 3 people bought the upsell, so Brunson went from a loss of $13 per day to a profit of $52 per day. This is the power of upsells. It increases the average order value of the customer and allows you to more easily bring your campaigns into solvency. Calculating the solvency of a campaign is simple. You just need to calculate your cost per acquisition, CPA, and compare it with the average cart value, ACV. The CPA is calculated by dividing the money spent on promotion by the number of customers acquired. while the ACV is simply the average amount customers spent on their first order with various upsells included. If the average cart value is higher than the cost to acquire a customer, the funnel works and you can invest more. If not, you need to adjust something. You've probably understood that the funnel applies to the entire business, as in the chiropractor example, but also to individual steps of the ladder. In fact, each step has its own funnel with its own upsells. Now, before we delve into the details of the individual funnels within the value ladder, I want to explain the basic strategy of upsells at each step. Brunson has conducted various tests to understand the right number of upsells to optimize sales, without annoying the customer with too many promotions and thus ruining the long-term relationship with them, at the expense of an additional short-term sale. The sweet spot for Brunson is 2 upsells, plus an order bump. Let's start with the order bump to understand what it is and how it works. When a customer is about to buy an offer and is in the shopping cart, they find a small box underneath with an offer they can check to add to their order. This is a strategy you've likely seen both online and offline. For example, near my house, there was a bar where the cashier, when you were about to pay, would always offer to add something, like a chocolate. Nowadays, Amazon, when you buy an ebook, always suggests if you want to add the audiobook for a small additional fee by checking a simple box. A good order bump is something easy to understand, and its price in relation to what you're buying is acceptable. For example, at the bar, if you spend $5, they offer an order bump for a 50-cent chocolate. Amazon, if you buy an $8 ebook, offers the audiobook for $3. Meanwhile, if you buy a $97 online course, the order bump could be about $27, for example. Now, staying online, a customer can accept or decline this order bump and click to purchase. When they do, they land on the first upsell page. Here, it's important not to close the loop. Don't write, "Your order is complete," but something like, "Wait, your order isn't finished yet. Please customize your order." And then you present your first upsell. Except in one case for e-commerce that we'll see later, upsells shouldn't offer the same thing you sold as the primary product, but should be something complementary or the solution to the next problem the customer will have. For example, if you sold an ebook on how to get a six-pack, don't sell another ebook on that, because the customer with their initial purchase thinks they've already solved that problem. Instead, try to think about what they might need next. For example, after someone has obtained a six-pack, the next problem that arises is how to maintain it. Then you can sell a nutritional guide for maintaining it or something similar. If they decline, optionally, you can try to offer a downsell, something less expensive. Or you can end there. If they accept this upsell, you move to a second page where you offer your second and last upsell of this sequence. Obviously, these upsells must have advantageous prices compared to the usual sale price. They must be special deals. Finally, they arrive at a thank you page that thanks them for their purchase, provides any instructions on how to use the products they've bought, and gives them the opportunity to take the next step right away if they want. That is, to enter the next funnel of the value ladder. Understanding the sequence of upsells and seizing the moment when a buyer has decided to make a purchase by offering them more buying options is crucial. This is where the 7 stages of a funnel come into play. Stage 1. Determine the traffic temperature. Starting from the bottom with non-customers, there are 3 types of traffic: hot, warm, and cold. Hot traffic knows what product they want, knows who you are, and what you sell. The communication here is usually more direct, focusing immediately on the product. Warm traffic knows what they desire, but not the specific product they want. They might know some of your competitors, but not you. With this type of traffic, it's good to start by communicating about their desire before introducing them to the product. Cold traffic is neither aware of the product nor the desire, but is aware of the problem they have. They don't know you. Here, you start by talking about the problem. Each group needs to be approached differently with distinct communication styles and landing pages. Stage 2. Pre-frame bridge. This stage is extremely important. It's about the state in which you put someone when they enter your funnel. To illustrate, Russell Brunson typically had a certain conversion rate for his sales presentations. However, one day, he worked with someone who was a master at pre-framing. This person introduced Brunson at an event, setting the stage for the audience in just the right way. The result? Using the same presentation Brunson typically delivered, he increased the conversion threefold. From that point on, Brunson incorporated pre-frame extensively, preparing the prospect as much as necessary. What does this mean in practical terms for your marketing? It means that the colder the traffic, the longer the pre-frame needs to be. With hot traffic, and often with warm traffic, the ad itself might be enough to create the necessary pre-frame. However, with cold traffic, it's often necessary to have a longer presentation, possibly adding an intermediary page. Stage 3. Qualify subscribers. When you bring traffic to a landing page, the goal here is to obtain the prospect's email. Here, you start filtering people, because only a percentage will provide their email. Stage 4. Qualify buyers. Immediately after a user leaves their email, you want to see who the buyers are. Note the word immediately, don't wait. As soon as they leave their name and email, take them straight to a sales page. Offer something inexpensive to lower the price barrier and identify the buyers. Stage 5. Identify hyperactive buyers. After the first sale offer, propose the order bump sequence plus the 2 upsells I explained earlier. This helps identify hyperactive buyers. Why do it immediately? Because when someone is actively seeking something, the window of opportunity to find a solution won't stay open forever. Some want a solution right away. These people need the option to buy immediately, or you risk losing them. And there are those willing to pay more to solve their problems. At this point, you end up with 3 different lists: hyperactive buyers, and subscribers. Stage 6. Age and ascend the relationship. Once people are on your lists, you need to engage with them. In your company, there should be an attractive character, and that's probably going to be you. The idea of an attractive character was introduced in this book as someone with an appealing personality. But it's a concept that Brunson evolved into the idea of the expert in his second book, Expert Secrets. The main point is that your business and products are appealing because you have a story to tell that adds value. For example, there was a personal trainer specialized in weight loss. To really understand what his customers felt and to help them, he gained 75 pounds and then got back in shape. Now, he shares his story and sells his weight loss programs, which are very attractive with such a story. You see? It's the relationship you create between you, the attractive character, and the customer that moves them up the value ladder and makes them more attached to your company. When someone joins your lists, you manage them in 2 ways. Look at this to clear things up. When they're in a funnel, you use what's called a soap opera sequence, which I'll explain soon. After they finish that sequence, they enter a broadcast list where they receive newsletters. The soap opera sequence is named that way because it works like TV series. Each episode opens a new loop that makes you want to watch the next one. We should try to use the same technique to create the same interest and desire to open the next email. Open a loop in an email and close it in the next one, encouraging people to open the next email because they want to know the answer to the previous one. Keep it simple. Use short sequences of 5 emails. So if things aren't going well, it's easier to fix them. I have included the typical email sequence template in the Dotcom Secrets playbook. You can find the link to understand what it is and how to get it below in the description. Every email, except the first one, has the same call to action towards the offer of that funnel. The first one doesn't because as soon as they signed up for that funnel, they saw a sales page immediately, so the offer was made there. 2 things can happen here. If someone buys, they are removed from this funnel and directed to the next one. If they don't buy and the email sequence ends, they are put on the broadcast list where you send single newsletters, not in sequence and not scheduled. Here, every email has a hook, a story, and an offer. The strategy here is to make them buy or sign up again on another landing page, to put them in a new soap opera sequence to make them buy again. Stage 7. Change of sales environment. The last stage is for very expensive products. It's hard to sell them online, so it's good to get them on the phone or to an event to handle the sale there. Alright, having looked at the 7 stages of a funnel, let's now delve into the details of the different steps to create funnels at various levels, as promised. Oh, and I almost forgot. Don't get overwhelmed by the number of funnels and products you need to create for a complete structure. This process will take some time. The key is to have the overall idea of where you want to go. Brunson himself advises his clients to start with just one level of the ladder and get that working well before adding others. Here again is the value ladder that will guide us in this journey. I've added the categories of funnels we will now explore, starting with lead funnels. This category of funnel aims to collect the user's contact so you can connect your company's attractive character with the prospect and start building a trust relationship. Brunson's top 3 lead funnels are as follows. The first is the classic squeeze page, where there's a free resource, also known as a lead magnet, given in exchange for the prospect's name and email. In the same category, we find survey funnels, or quizzes. This is a quiz with a series of questions that gives a personalized result at the end. It's particularly suitable if you have multiple targets and things to sell. The structure is quiz questions. At the end of the quiz, you ask for the contact's name and email, and once they fill out the form, they go to the result page. The more specific this page is, the better it converts. The third type is a bit more special. It's about summits. Here you organize an online summit with various speakers who have their own audience. The idea is that they promote the event to their lists for the prestige of being in the summit, and also for the affiliate commissions you'll offer. After the invited people have registered, they land on a thank you page. Here you confirm their registration and also make an offer, for example, to have the event recordings, while with free registration, they can only watch the videos on that specific day. On the first day of the summit, you put the speaker's videos on a page and send the page link by email to those who got registered. The interviews are pre-recorded and are put on the page. They remain available for 24 hours, then you remove them and put the ones for the next day if the summit lasts several days. Usually, the summit lasts a maximum of 3 or 4 days. At the end of the summit, and also after the other 2 lead funnels, remember to make an offer with the usual upsell mechanism previously explained. Let's move to the next level of the value ladder, the unboxing funnels. These usually offer a low-cost resource, typically something between $1 and $100. But this range isn't strict. They're called unboxing funnels because these resources might be part of a larger offer composed of multiple items to be sold later at a higher price. However, you can also sell them individually, starting at a lower price so more people can access the first paid step of the value ladder. In this category, we start with book funnels. They're named this way because you usually offer a free book with bonuses and charge only for shipping and handling. But the same can be done with a physical product that isn't a book, and you can add the usual upsell sequence. Then, there are cart funnels. These apply particularly to e-commerce. The structure is similar to the usual one, but there are a couple of important differences. First, when selling a physical product in e-commerce, you have the leverage of quantity. You can offer better prices for larger quantities, thus encouraging the customer to order more. The other difference is that in the first upsell, unlike other funnels, you offer more of the product they bought at a favorable price, especially if the product is consumable and needs reordering. The rest is standard. The last type of unboxing funnels recommended by Brunson are challenge funnels. Here, you sell a challenge to achieve a result, providing all the service during the challenge period to achieve it. For example, create your funnel in 30 days, or weight loss program for 15 days, etc. These challenges also have prizes for the best performers. Here too, the same concepts of order bump and upsell apply, with a couple of adjustments. The first is that you should sell things that the customer thinks can help them win the challenge. The second adjustment is that you should include as prizes what you will offer at the end of the challenge as the next step, starting to increase the desire for them. Let's go to the third category, the presentation funnels. As the name suggests, these funnels typically involve a more detailed presentation for selling because the products are more expensive. To give you an idea, the prices here range roughly from $100 to $2,000. The first type are funnels with video sales letters. This isn't complicated. It's a classic funnel as we've seen before. The only difference is that on the first page, there's a sales page with a fairly long sales video, about 20 or 30 minutes, that uses the storytelling script Brunson explains in another book we'll look at. Then, there are the usual order bumps and upsells. Next, we have webinar funnels. It's pretty much the same thing, but the presentation is done via webinar instead of a recorded video, and the attendees are sent to a sales page with the usual order bumps and upsells. When I say usual, I mean the same mechanism, but the type of products and services you offer changes at each level to match what you're offering. Finally, there are product launch funnels. These are used when launching a new product on the market. Basically, you direct traffic to a squeeze page to register for a free workshop. Once they register, they access the first video. Then you release the other videos in the following days, one at a time. In the first video, you want to wow them by showing the concept of the new opportunity you're presenting. In the second, you explain how this new opportunity has transformed you or others. In the third, you break down the false beliefs they have about what would prevent them from succeeding with what you're offering. In the last video, you make the offer with the usual order bumps and upsells. The last category is the back-end and phone funnels. These are dedicated to more expensive products, typically above $2,000, because they are harder to sell online using other methods. In these cases, it's better to change the sales environment and take them off the internet, to the phone, or to a live seminar, where the sale is made. The best funnel here is the application funnel, where you essentially flip the sales flow. Instead of cold calling clients to sell, you set things up by creating a scarcity of available spots to show that you're selective about who you accept. You create an application form where the clients have to sell to you that they are worthy of working with you. The questions you ask should qualify the lead to reject those who are not suitable and would just waste your time. Finally, we have memberships. This is a separate product that we could insert here in the value ladder. Usually, in jargon, it's called continuity, because you find a way to sell to the customer continuously. And memberships are a good example of this, but not the only one. So, the one you see now is the complete value ladder. Keep in mind that if you're interested in the topic, the book also includes screenshots of the pages Brunson uses and scripts for all the various steps to properly apply them. And if you look at his websites, you'll notice he does exactly what he teaches. The strategy is what you've seen here. So, here you've seen how to structure your sales funnels. But as mentioned in the video, a big difference in sales is made by the attractive character you create for your business and the type of communication you use. If you want to understand how to master these two topics, you should check out this video on Brunson's second book, Expert Secrets, which delves into these concepts. Until next time.